I'm Scott. This is Big Guy Boards. This board is completely mental. This is the Unicorn by Steve Hann at ETC Surfboards. He's based in Australia. I've been wanting to get my hands on one of these for ages. They look really good for a heavier surfer for a number of reasons. Steve's also really environmentally conscious, which I think is really important. We really need that in the surf industry at the moment. So yeah, I'll talk through some of the features of the board and then we'll watch some footage and see how it surfs. All right, where to start? So the outline of the board, there's a noticeable wind cutting the rails. So a lot of shapers have tried this to varying success. Some shapers have had like really good boards with this, and from my understanding it just takes a lot of experimentation. I don't think anyone knows exactly why it works or how it works, but it makes a big difference to, you know, when you're on the rail. It really helps with turns. It makes kind of the turns a bit kind of carvy but shorter radius is my understanding, but all I know is it feels amazing. I'll go into that in a bit. So that's one noticeable kind of characteristic of the board. Obviously a squared off nose as well, so there's heaps of width in the nose, which really helps with paddling, paddling into the wave catching. I noticed that quite a lot actually, how well it catches waves. We'll look at that in the footage. And obviously quite a wide tail as well. Now looking at the board, you might think it's more of a small wave board, but my experience is exactly what Steve said. It actually starts to work in kind of shoulder, head high plus, so it's definitely not kind of what you'd expect as a grovel board. Now the underside is where it goes really nuts. So you have chimed rails here, quite a wide kind of chimed rail there, and then there's two doubles going right the way through. So the doubles start right up to the kind of almost under your chest here. They go right the way through the board and push the water out through the fins. So I've ridden a similar bottom to this when the Lost, what board is it? The Lost Hydra has got the same bottom as this. That was the fastest board I had ridden to that point, and it does exactly the same thing. It just squirts the water. It's like a jet underneath the board. It just squirts the water out the back through the fins, and it's the speed you get out of this is just ridiculous. So those are the main features of the board. There's lots of little things as well, like the rail as well. There's a very slight stepped deck in the board as well. They're getting closer by the second. Will I finish the review before they come and get me? There's a stepped deck as well. So the rails are really thinned out, but there's a lot of thickness carried through the board. So this is the kind of medium-sized one. Sorry, dimensions are here. The medium-sized one, 2 3/4, but the thickness is carried right through, but the rails are really pared down, so it's almost like a subtly stepped deck, which is really good because the rails actually give lots of hold. The rails give you lots of hold and give that kind of performance-y feel, which you really want. I'll go more into the performance in a minute. Right, I'm gonna stop now before they get any closer, and then I'll talk about how the board surfs. All right, so what's it like to surf? Please subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe, please. What's it like to surf? Absolutely unbelievable to surf. So first surf on it straight away, as soon as you engage the rail, those channels underneath, whatever else is going on here, I've never felt a board push so much. So it kind of, as soon as you engage the rail, it's like there's something driving you forward through through the wave. It's unbelievable. I'm gonna have to stop this and let these cows go somewhere else, I think. I survived. A friend of mine could see the field I was in from his house. He said he was just watching me run across the field with a board under my arm with cows running after me. But yeah, I'm all right, I'm okay. So we'll carry on with a review. So I'm talking about what the board's like to ride. I just started saying the speed is just ridiculous. I've never felt anything like it. So it's not really the speed you get from tic-tacking on small waves. It doesn't really like that, and that's exactly what Steve said. It's much better as soon as you get a kind of more of a face to actually lean into the turns and engage the rail. It's just, it's unbelievable, and it just really pushes you through the water. It's like there's some kind of engine underneath the board, and it's just, yeah, just ridiculous, unbelievable. So into and out of turns, it just really, yeah, I don't know how to kind of put it into words, but it's extraordinary. You just have to try one to kind of understand how nuts it is, really. One thing that really attracted me to these boards, the Unicorn specifically, as I've mentioned, Steve's a bigger guy himself, and a problem a lot of heavier surfers have when they're riding shortboards is to get their required volume in. Generally, you need to go to a certain length. So whether that's, you know, my daily driver board, my kind of average wave shortboard is around 6'4", but usually have to go longer than that. The ideal thing with these, they're kind of in the mid 40s. He's done me 3 models, kind of smaller one at 5'10", the mid-size one which I'm on, which is 6'0", 20 and a half, 2 3/4, and this one comes in at, I think it doesn't say on here, I think it's around 44 litres. And then there's a slightly bigger one than that, same length, but slightly thicker. So the great thing about that is it comes in at 6 foot at mid 40 range litres, and that's great. I talk about swing weight quite a lot, but it's so important for when you're trying to do turns, especially off the top, but also kind of carves and stuff. The reduced length makes such a big difference, and it's also good for fitting in the pocket of the wave. Even on a, you know, a head high wave, you really want the board to fit in the pocket. And that's where this works so well. So it's really good at making the drop. It really fits in the kind of speed generating pocket of the wave. So that's really good for these, and which is why I thought they'd really suit bigger surfers or anyone who wants more volume in their board. This is perfect for that. On the rail, it feels really good. It feels like it's strange because you don't, when you're up and riding on the board, you don't feel like, or I didn't give a second thought to the fact that this thing is quite an unusual shape. It just feels like just riding any normal shortboard. So it's quite an extraordinary board, really. And I can't really fault it at the moment. If you're anything from chest to shoulder high above, it's just the perfect board because it's got the speed, but it's also, as I've said, because it's the reduced length, you can really flick it around. It's just ideal. Fins wise, he only does it as a quad. He's got quite an unusual fin placement here. They're quite clustered together and a bit forward. That might contribute to the unbelievable speed that you get out of this board as well. Since I've been doing these fins, the Goliath fins, I only really ride shortboards with Goliath fins now. I've got lots more detailed videos on those. I'll put a link up to that, but yeah, the fins are probably helping with the drive as well. So overall, it's just an unbelievable board. Obviously, it's slightly higher priced than your average surfboard that's just churned out of a factory on a machine, but Steve shapes these all himself, and the attention to detail really shows. Now, in the pictures, they look great, but as soon as I kind of got one of these, got my hands on one, it's just there's little details here, and you can tell he's just put a lot of love into this. Even tiny little subtle things, as an example, like the little kind of pin line around the leash hoop and stuff like that. It's just, they are beautiful boards. So I initially looked at ordering one of these off of Steve a while ago, and I looked into the shipping cost, which would be over £1,000. The import tax on top of that, on top of the cost of the board, I was looking at over £2,000 to get one of these imported into the UK, which obviously is a lot of money. But I really wanted to first get on one myself. As I said, for a high volume board, it looks like such a good option for someone who wants the 40+ litre range boards that can actually perform and in a kind of relatively low length. So yeah, I got a load imported from Steve, and they're now available on my shop, bigguyboards.com.
Just a little involved. Sunglasses make her look cool. She's gonna run just to find the floor that makes her hide. When you look into her eyes, sun comes up, it makes her sigh. This devil's on the ride, a spare seat by your side. She's just a junkie for the boogie. She's filthy when she's feeling moody. She's such a beauty, but she's angry. She's just a junkie for the boogie.